Hello book friends, how are you? I hope you're all doing well. Rue is of course joining us today and Macy is laying at my feet for today's video. Oh my gosh, I feel like I say this a lot, but wow, another TL Swan book that just, like, I wasn't even sure I could sit down and film my video today. I'm still absorbing it all. I'm still going over in my head, like obsessing over it, as I have a habit of doing with her books. But you know what? I have to share about it. I have to talk about it, which is the reason why I started my channel. And she is the reason I started my channel. I had to talk about her books. I'm so proud of her and the journey that her creativity has been taking her on these past couple of years. She deserves all the success she has coming to her and has come to her. I feel like I've known her forever. It really is very extra special for me to talk about her books and be part of her group, the Swan Squad. I've got my sign going. Where are my Swan Squad girls at? How are you? I love being part of her group. I love, love, love her books. And I'm so thankful that she keeps writing because I need them. I need them in my life. Today's book is going to be, of course, Mr. Garcia. I was a little nervous, I'll be honest, because she was talking in her group about how he was Sebastian, was Mr. Garcia, was kind of stressing her out. So I was like, oh my gosh, if he's stressing her out, what's he gonna do to us? I love her men. Joshua Stanton, he's everything. He was like the first book boyfriend that I had that I was like, oh my God, if like he was real life, I might just turn into a puddle of wet mess all the time. And then I fell in love with so many of her male characters after that. Spencer is particularly special to me, as is Tristan. Now, the success of Mr. Miles there in The Takeover is where I know I am not alone, because holy smokes, everyone loves Tristan. So Sebastian, I was a little nervous about, I'll be honest, and I ended up really loving him. But you know who the standout in this book was for me? April. I always love T's female characters. She writes a girl's girl, and she writes a real girl, and I love that. I've talked before about how her books play like movies in my head. I know I'm not alone in that. So I can picture this all happening as I read the story. And April, just something about those first, like it was within the first chapter that I was like, oh my God, this girl, this woman, I get her. I know her. I see her. I feel her. And I have to say, I love so many of the other women characters that T writes. There's something very Natasha about April. And I don't know if you'll agree with me with that, but because none of TL Swan's female characters are pushovers, none of them. But there was something about Natasha and Joshua and April and Sebastian that kind of reminded me of each other. And it surprised me. And I realized it about 3/4 way through the book. So let's get to talking about the book. I feel like I'm rambling on, as I do with her books. I will, of course, include the videos I have done on T's books in the description box below. And also, I, as always, will include a direct to Amazon link if you would like to buy the book in the description box below as well. Okay, so let's talk about April and Sebastian. April is, when the book starts, she is a broke law school student. She is 25. There's a little bit of an age gap there between her and Sebastian. And she works at a coffee shop. She is American, but is living in London, going to law school. She has a scholarship. And at 25, she's kind of like, oh my God, these kids that she's in school with. She is a law student by day and then works as a part-time job at a coffee shop. she's walking to work one day and she sees this gentleman and she's like, wow, like that's quite a man there. And she observes him talking to a homeless person and reaching into his pocket and giving the homeless person some money and then walking away. And she took note of that and she was like, wow, that was really nice. And I loved that that's how T opened the book, because random acts of kindness, oh my gosh, if 2020 didn't teach us anything, but we need to look out for each other and that we're all human and we all need help. I really liked that. And so of course that set the stage for what I was hoping Sebastian to be like, and that April witnessed that and that it affected her heart, I really liked. So she goes to work, and of course, who walks into her coffee shop and orders coffee but Sebastian. And immediately she's like, can't even talk, because she's like, wow, oh my God, here's the man. He's standing in front of me and he's, oh my gosh. She gets the opportunity to go work and make some very big money. And it's under some circumstances which aren't really illegal, but it's also kind of shady and it's also kind of gross. And yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, if I was her, could I do it? When I was 25, I don't know. I had a kid when I was 25. I had a 2-year-old at the time, so I can't think back to like when I was 25 and would I do it? But she sees it as an opportunity to make a whole bunch of money and be able to get herself out of the dorm she's living in and in her own place, in her own space. So I understood why she took the job, but I was like, oh no, this isn't going to be good though. And of course, you know, kind of saw that coming. In walks Sebastian to this job, and she doesn't like that he's there and he doesn't like that she's there. We do get both of their perspectives in this book, more April than Sebastian, but I felt like I got a lot from both of them. And because TL Swan excels in writing dialogue, and she writes so much dialogue, you really do get a feel for both of them. And this is from April after she sees Sebastian come into her new job. Oh my God, and I thought he was nice. What a joke, typical. Another man of my dreams who turns out to be a walking effing sperm bank. Ugh, I'm so done with men. He narrows his eyes at me and I narrow mine right back. Don't look at me like that, asshole. I see you for what you really are now, sleazebag. And then a little bit later on, she talks about, because she's kind of in a no-win situation, she has to go forward. And I know I'm leaving it out because I don't like to give spoilers, but she has to go forward. She has to do her job. And I hated it. She said, so this is what it's like to hate yourself. Ugh, oh my God, I felt so bad for her. She also says this not too long after, and boy, did I get what she said when she said this. Maybe I am too young for you, which is a shame, I add. Why? Because you were the first man I'd slept with. A confused frown creases his brow. I'd slept with little boys before, but never a man, and it was pretty effing perfect until you ruined it. Okay, their chemistry, their sexual attraction was insane. Insane. To me, it felt different than I was used to getting from T. She always writes super spicy books, but there was something different with them. Their attraction, their intimacy, their connection when they're doing the deed is it's a lot. For me, it teetered on the edge of, is it too much? Is it too rough? But they're both consenting adults. They both want to be there doing it the way they're doing it. You know, I don't mean to be like, you know, crass, but she is into it just as much as he is. But I took pause because, like I said, it felt a little different. And I wondered what that was going to mean. If it was just the way T was writing them and that's the way they organically came to her. Or if that was going to be part of their story. And as I read on, I started to go through these layers with the book that are so subtle that I kind of thought, well, does she know she's writing it that way? I'm receiving these messages that are so not hidden, but like under the surface. And I had to think to myself, well, does she know that? And I'm like, well, of course she knew that. Duh, like she wrote the book. But there are several, I don't want to say themes, but things I picked up on in the book. The age gap, how strong April was, and how she was as a woman that I really connected to. Her power as a woman that I felt as a woman. How their story felt a little bit with that job, a little Pretty Woman-esque. About how people with high sex drives sometimes have issues with partners. Their physical compatibility when it comes to that. How they can have relationships when it comes to that, what their own baggage is that they bring to the relationship, and working on that, and can they? They've both been divorced, and there's been cheating that has gotten brought up, and can they move on from that, not only in their past, but in their relationship, and how that affects your psyche when you go into a new relationship? Insecurities that you have when you fall in love with somebody. I love how all of this, I all of a sudden started to see and could pick out in the book, and how much more I felt fulfilled and like completed. Does that sound right? That was the journey that T took us on with them, and how we started at A, we went through all of that and ended at Z with them. And that's what we get with the TL Swan book. And I love the journey with all those different roadblocks and all those different things that she brings in. I love that. There's very heavy moments, and there's a lot of stops and starts between them. And I kind of was like, oh no, not again. My heart went through such a workout. And there were so many things that April said that I was like, oh girl, I get you. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm right there with you. And this was one of them. You know you're effed up when you're secretly relieved when a man shows his true colors. Call it what you will, an alarm bell, a sixth sense, or the universe looking out for me. But I know it's just a little reminder of what it feels like to be hurt by someone you love, and a warning to never go there again. She is a smart cookie, oh my gosh. But Sebastian, man, he is the man that is going to knock down these walls without even realizing he's doing it. April gets to the point where she's like, okay, listen, I'm just gonna enjoy him. That this is the best sex of my life. I can do this. I can totally do this. And of course, that's what we tell ourselves, right? This is what she says. I had an epiphany in the shower earlier. It's okay to enjoy a man and know there's no future with him. I'm giving myself permission to fall in lust because let's face it, that's what this is. An intense, out-of-this-world sexual attraction. He feels it too. He's made that very clear. Our bodies work well together. He's big, strong, dominant, and well, it turns out that I like to be dominated by him. Who knew? I'm taking this little thing between us as a break from reality. For however long it lasts, I'm predicting it won't be for much longer. I'm going to enjoy the ride because men who look an F like Sebastian Garcia are a rarity. He's a perfect diamond in the rough, the pinnacle of a woman's sexual experiences. I'm 25 and in the prime. I have no commitments, and I like handing my power over to him. He knows exactly what to do with it. No man has ever satisfied me like he does. The sex we have is out of this world, so effing hot. And boy, the girl is not lying, and she tries. She really tries. But then a wrench gets completely thrown in there. I was absolutely shocked. I did not see it coming at all. And that's it until the book picks up 6 years later. They see each other again at a charity ball, and boy, that hurt just comes right up to the surface with April. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I'm okay with that. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, I never ever got over you. And all the anger that bubbles and all the hurt comes up again and all those feelings come up again. Well, of course, that's what happens with them. It's all still there and then some. I loved being back with Julian and Brielle, and of course Spencer and Charlotte. If you've read TL Swan, you know that Mr. Masters, which is Julian and Brielle's story, came first, and then there was Mr. Spencer, which is Spencer and Charlotte. And now, of course, we have April and Sebastian. I just love checking in with those characters. It's something I always love when authors do that, check in with the past characters. And also, it's interesting because T gave us a little trivia kind of question thing when she was writing Mr. Garcia. And she told us that April was a character that we knew from her book's sister. Oh my gosh, the flurry of activity trying to figure out who she was. Well, I figured it out. It's right here in the book. But did you figure it out? Did you know who it was? If you're here from the Swan Squad or you're just a TL Swan fan and you weren't sure who it was, did you figure it out? Let me know in the comments below. This is April talking about what caused them to basically break up before and not to see each other for 6 years. Something in my DNA changed that day. It altered who I was as a person, and I miss her. I'm feeling over-emotional and teary-eyed. I need to pull myself together. I just need to get through dinner, and then I can fall apart when I get home. I'm going to the bathroom. I walk down the corridor at the side of the restaurant and into the bathroom. It's a single cubicle with its own basin and mirror. I wash my hands and stare at my reflection in the mirror. I feel fragile. My eyes full with tears. God, April, pull yourself together. What's wrong with me? I'm never teary. I just loved her so much. I love the push and pull between them, although I did get a bit like, okay, come on, T. As soon as I thought they were gonna hit their stride as a couple, nope, T just knocks you right off your feet with something else. And I was like, girl, please, like, you're giving me a heart attack. And it happened a few times. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm throwing my Kindle. This is the time I throw my Kindle. It's so obvious that as much as they tried to stay away from each other, they can't. They're both at different parts in their lives, but also they never let go of the great love that they felt that they could have had before. And of course, the insane sexual chemistry that they have. And there were a few times where Sebastian really got to me. And this is one of them. Sebastian, I whisper. What are you doing? Silence. Sebastian, I prompt. Breathing you in. His deep voice purrs. He lifts his glass to his lips and takes a long, slow sip as he watches me. My heart races in my chest. He's so intense, so serious, so effing hot. There's nothing more intoxicating than the scent of the woman you want, he whispers darkly. Oh my God. No kidding. Okay. But then on the flip side, we get this. And this is from Sebastian's perspective talking to April. If you wrote the book on compartmentalizing, you should already know the answer. Her brow furrows. I do it to everyone in my life. I hate that I do. I've sought treatment for it for years. And then I met you, the one person I couldn't block out. Her shoulders slump in sadness. And you go and do it to me. We stare at each other. April. What, Sebastian? I'm sorry. I whisper. Her eyes well with tears again and she drops her head. Me too. She turns and walks out. I hear her go downstairs and then I hear the garage door open. Moments later, I hear the car drive off and I close my eyes in regret. So this was one of those times where I was like, oh, ding, 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 ding. Okay, bookmark. I see the underlying issues deep issues that these characters have. I'm recognizing them. I'm connecting with them. It's helping me connect with them deeper as characters. They really did give me whiplash. And these are two things April said where I was like, girl, same. She says at one point, stay and fight for him, but end up pushing him away because of her own issues, or give him the space that he needs and lose him anyway. It was a catch-22 and she knew it. And don't you hate that feeling? When something's not good for you and you know it, but you can't help but do it anyway. But when she said this, I was like, girl, I get it. And I was at the point in the book where I felt exactly the same way about Sebastian that she did. This is our last chance, Seb. If we don't get it right this time, I'm going home to America and I'll never see you again. Is that a warning? No. Then why bring it up? I want you to know why this is important to me. I'm not being overdramatic, but I need to strip us back and try again for real this time. She really just got to the point, and don't we all have that point where we're like, I can't do it anymore? Whatever that is, we get to our point where we're like, I'm done. But she knew if they didn't really, really try, that she was done. But you know what I really liked? April steps up to the plate towards the end. I mean, she's on the plate the whole time, but she takes it an extra step towards the end of this book where I was like so proud of her and so in awe of her. I just was like, yes, girl, yes. She goes to bat for her man and he's kind of like, whoa. She was to the point where she was like, don't you dare screw this up for both of us. And I loved it. Loved, loved, loved it. April, kick-ass chick. One of my favorite characters of Tease and definitely one of my favorite characters ever, ever. Thank goodness there is a happily ever after at the end of Mr. Garcia. I love Tease brand of happily ever after. I need them. I want them. I can't wait for them. I also really love her epilogues. I never want to let go of her books. I hate when I know I'm getting to the end of them, but she gives us in the epilogues enough future that I really feel like it will never be enough for me, but I see enough in their future that I'm settled with them. Thank you for taking a moment to consider subscribing. If you like this kind of video, I would love to have you as a subscriber, and make sure you come over and say hello to me on my social media, which is Kat Reads Romance on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.